Hey guys, it's Brownbag talking sports here again to talk about the conference championships games. Sorry, this recap is coming a lot later than it should have. I actually did post though. I posted my fellow Saints fans video for the channel, so if anyone didn't see that, go ahead and check that out. But yeah, sorry this didn't come out earlier than it should have, but I'm here now. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Starting with the Rams at New Orleans game, which the Rams won 26-23 in overtime. Let me first get into the stats. Drew Brees was 26 for 40. He had 2 passing touchdowns and 1 interception. Mark Ingram had 9 carries for 31 yards. Alvin Kamara had 8 carries for 15 yards. Receiving wise, Alvin Kamara had 11 receptions for 96 yards. Ted Ginn had 3 receptions for 58 yards. And Michael Thomas had 4 receptions for 36 yards. I said in my preview video for this game that the Saints needed to get Michael Thomas involved, and as you can tell by the stats, he didn't have his best game. It quite possibly is his worst game of the season. Dude showed up so rarely. It was just weird to not see Michael Thomas in the game, you know? Like, he was in the game, he was on the field, but he looked like he wasn't even there, you know? But a major reason also why the Saints lost is because of the rushing game. Their leading rusher had 31 yards in total. And even Alvin Kamara, he was more effective at the receiving end than the rushing side. Like I said, 11 receptions for 96 yards, rather the 8 carries for 15 yards. I also said that the Saints needed a strong rushing game to combat the Rams' rushing game, because even without Sheldon Rankins, I still had a lot of confidence in the Saints' rushing defense. And the Saints' rushing defense showed up. Their leading rusher, C.J. Anderson, had 16 carries for 44 yards. And Gurley had 4 carries for 10 yards. Aside from a huge gain that Josh Reynolds had for 16 yards off of 1 carry, the Saints' rushing defense was holding them. They forced Goff to beat them, which was really working, especially in that first quarter. Our secondary didn't hold up. Goff beat them. Goff beat our secondary a lot. He picked apart the Saints' secondary so much in the game. It was just baffling to see how many big plays he could get off. Like, dude was 25 for 40 and had 297 yards. 1 touchdown pass and 1 interception. Jared Goff, he didn't start out great, but he showed out later in the game, and it's just a shame that to see the rushing defense do so well, yet the secondary be so trash, man. It's so trash, man. But again, I've mentioned this multiple times before, but the rushing game really helps the defense. When your offense can run the ball, it doesn't matter if they get a straight up 3 and out. That defense is getting enough resting time. As long as you can run that ball, your defense can do anything, man. Especially the Saints defense. But on the other side, a big reason the Rams won was because of their D-line. Yeah, even though there were only like 2 sacks, this defensive line's presence was being felt. Even in overtime, man. Brees went to throw to Michael Thomas, but one of the D linemen hit him while he threw it, and the ball was basically sailing up in the air, just aimlessly floating, and Michael Thomas's defender caught the interception, which basically ended the game, man. I mean, it didn't end the game. In the end, they had to kick a 57-yarder in overtime to win it. Which even then, I mean, our defense was still showing some heart. But Greg Zuerlein, man, I mean, that dude is a master. Like, that kick would have been good from 60 yards, maybe even 70. Especially right now, a reliable kicker is very, very... He comes in handy. He comes in handy, just to say the least. But, yeah, Rams, don't let that guy go anytime soon. Jared Goff was making some very good passes. He threw a couple bombs, especially later in the game. But his receivers has to catch him, and Brandon Cooks, the former Saint, he put him through, man. He had 7 receptions for 107 yards, an average 15.3 per reception. Josh Reynolds had 4 receptions for 74 yards and averaged 18.5 yards. But yeah, the receivers came through big time. A lot of people were concerned about Goff and this offense as a whole, with Gurley constantly being shut down, and yeah, he was kind of injured. I mean, I don't think he was put out of any of the games, but there were a couple times later in the season where you could tell Gurley wasn't 100%. But yeah, this Rams offense came into the postseason kind of stumbling a bit, man. Cooper Kupp was injured for the entire season, so there's a lot of panic in LA. Seeing if they would go one and done for the second year in a row, but they beat the Cowboys and they beat the Saints, and they're going to the Super Bowl. I'm not gonna talk about the penalty in this game because I already talked about the penalty in the in my previous video, so again, go to check that out. But yeah, I just feel like I'd be mulling over territory that I've already covered, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go to the Patriots versus Chiefs game. The Patriots won over the Chiefs 37-31. Patrick Mahomes was 16 for 31 passing attempts. He had 295 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. Rushing wise, Damian Williams, 10 carries for 30 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. Receiving wise, Sammy Watkins had 4 receptions for 114 yards and averaged 28.5 yards a reception. And Damian Williams had 5 receptions for 66 yards. For once, the Kansas City offense didn't come up and play, and the defense had to come up and show up. Which is weird because everybody's been criticizing this Kansas City defense, and when we talk about later in the game, it'll be for good reason. But yeah, for now, Kansas City's defense was holding it together. They were the reason why they were still in this game. And thankfully, the Chiefs came back. Patrick Mahomes, of course, judging by his stat record, didn't have the best start, but he started to get on fire in that second half, and he really made this a game. The offense didn't really show up in that first half, but they did really good in the second half, and it was good enough to force overtime. The problem was that the Patriots, later in the game, Kansas City defense just couldn't get off the field on third down, especially in that overtime. Like, there were like 2 or 3 times where they could have gotten off the field on third down, but they just didn't. Brady was 30 for 46 passing attempts. He had 348 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Rushing wise, Sonny Michel had 29 carries for 113 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Rex Burkhead had 12 carries for 41 yards. And receiving wise, Julian Edelman had 7 receptions for 96 yards, and Rob Gronkowski had 6 receptions for 79. This is just really weird to see because everybody, including me, was talking about how this looked like the Patriots' end. Like, they looked they looked cooked earlier sometimes in this season. I mean, that Steelers game when Brady threw that interception, that was just terrible. I mean, even to the end of that game, like he was just kept trying to force it to the end zone and nearly got picked like twice. But yeah, there were a few games where he played magnificent, but even then, like that Miami Dolphins game where they played in Miami, there was a big time sack that Brady took, and for whatever reason he didn't realize that there wasn't any timeouts and there wasn't enough time on the clock to send the field goal unit out. So that just looked like a rookie mistake. And even times where Tom Brady has been playing good, the defense just never showed up. Like they let up 31 points against the Bears, and I mean the Chiefs. The Chiefs is understandable. They let up like 40 over the Chiefs, but I mean that's kind of understandable. But I have to hand it to this Patriots defense to an extent. I mean, Patrick Mahomes did come back on them and force overtime, so yeah, to an extent, but they held him long enough. The Patriots seem to finally be clicking, man. They seem to finally be clicking. To beat the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and for that defense to hold down the Chiefs offense for that long is just really good. I mean, it's just really impressive, and I have to take my hat off to them because they did their thing. And at the end, Brady showed why he's the GOAT. He got it. He got the ball to the open man in overtime, and he won them the game. Um, there were a few penalties that were disastrous. One in particular where Brady was literally just hit on the shoulder, but the ref called roughing the passer for whatever reason. But yeah, even though Patrick Mahomes was hit a lot harder than him multiple times in the game, but yeah, I guess the NFL really cares about player safety as long as it's the right players. There was another penalty. It was third down. I think it was third down. It might have been second down, but it was definitely in that scenario where the Patriots where the defense had to get off the field, and one of the D linemen was offsides when Brady threw his third interception, but it was called back because one of the D line was offsides. And it doesn't hurt me because that's the wrong call, because it was the right call. He was clearly offsides, but it's just like that terrible defensive play later in the game really just hurt them. They just really hurt them. I mean, if the Chiefs get that interception, they have all the momentum and they can take a bigger lead. The game was so close, but the Patriots came out on top, and now the Rams and the Patriots are in the Super Bowl. So yeah, I'll have my predictions out for the Super Bowl a little later. Well, not too much later. I mean, it's like Thursday right now as I'm recording this, so I can't be slacking. I gotta get this. I gotta get the preview video out before the Super Bowl comes on. But yeah. I'm gonna go edit this real quick, and then I'll have the Super Bowl predictions out. So thank you guys for watching. Yeah, just thank you guys for watching. I know other YouTubers say leave a like and subscribe, and I mean, if you don't want to subscribe, then that's fine and all, but I just want to say thank you for watching. I mean, if you want to leave a like, that please do that because that really helps me out, even if you don't want to subscribe. But yeah, yeah, um, just thank you guys for, thanks everybody who subscribed to me right now. Right now I have like 20, 21, 22 subscribers. I think it's 21, but it might be 22 right now. But yeah, I just want to say thank you guys. But until next time, Brownbag signing out. We really missed out on a Kansas City versus Rams Super Bowl. Isn't that